Okay, hello everyone. Everyone. 3 people will watch this. It's fine. 1 person will watch this. We're going to be making some coffee. I'm in the mood to make some coffee. I'm also feeling quite sick. I've been drinking tea the past few days. I've not drank a lot of coffee. And I thought, I fancy a coffee. I'm not sure what coffee yet. I'm thinking of doing a pour over. Not made a pour over in a while. I'm thinking, do I open up a new coffee or do I go with something I've already tried before? I'm not sure. But you know what, I'm going to go with a coffee that I've tried already. A coffee that I know is good. A coffee that is being my little caddy. Oh, it's nice. This is a light roast Colombian coffee. From the Miraflores Farms. This was part of my packed coffee. I've started here because this is kind of my go-to when I'm not sure what to drink. I've got a few other coffees, but I think we're going to have some of this. Now, as I said, we're going to be drinking filter. So, let me grind. 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, so 12 is where I've been settling for filter coffee recently, around 12 on the grind. I need to figure out how much water this cup we're using. This is my mug for Christmas. I'm going to use this mug to figure out how much water we're going to put in. Now, obviously I'm just going to put into it the water that we'll be putting into our kettle. You want to be using good water, spring water, soft water, good quality spring water will say on the back its actual mineral contents. It's a nice clean water. You know, it's like the water should taste like nice water on its own. You know, so this is like different bicarbon, calcium amounts, whatever. It doesn't really matter. All I care about is how much this cup holds, how much liquid this cup holds. So about 250, which is what we'll be brewing to. So put me a Harrogate water down. I'm gonna put a little bit more water, obviously. It's not too expensive, this, for 1.5 litres, like £1 a bottle maybe, which is about normal prices generally for good quality mineral water. I mean, I don't mind using like an own brand water, but it's just what we have in the house. So we'll use that. I'm not going to boil the kettle yet because we want to use our coffee first. So, lid off. Coffee. Now we're looking for 60 grams a litre, which would mean 15 grams every 250 ml. Right, 15 grams, 250 ml, 30 grams, 500 ml. Now if I remember correctly, this scoop should be about 16 grams of coffee. It's more. It's a bit too much. There we are, 15.1, which is what we want. This is obviously a light roast coffee. With lighter roasts, you want to be grinding it finer. Put that under 11. Yeah, no, we'll keep it at 11. Yeah, from what I know, with light roasts, you want to be grinding a bit finer because the flavour of the coffee is subtler. You want to be extracting more. With a darker roast, you want to be grinding slightly coarser to make sure there's not too much extraction. And the reason I sprayed water on that is because it's static. I'm going to move this over here just for a minute, just while it grinds. Yeah, so the reason we add the water is because it limits the amount of static while it grinds. Less potential. Just run that a bit more. Nice freshly ground coffee. Put these back over here. So, nice little tub of freshly ground light roasted Colombian coffee. Now we're going to want to break this up a bit. Now there are what you can get called distribution tools, which are basically just like a bunch of spiky bits. If I had a bit of cork and some cocktail sticks, they do the same thing. Basically all you're doing is, there are clumps generally when you grind coffee. More expensive grinders, it's less of an issue. But yeah, clumps. You don't want clumps. Anyway, so it's declumped. Now what we will do is we will get our V60. Just give this a quick bang. There's some coffee in there. Not going to matter too much. I'm going to be rinsing it out anyway. So that goes in there. Get our filter paper. I don't know if you could see the V60 a bit better. Yeah, perfect. So fold the little dip in. So firstly we're going to boil the kettle. The kettle should boil relatively quickly. There's not a lot of water in there for it to boil, so that should boil quite quickly. We'll need a little bit to wet the paper. We'll then add our coffee, and then we will begin the brew. This is a V60 method that I have both taken from places that I've watched online, and also that I have watched, that I've kind of come up with myself somewhat. From what I know, when you're brewing with a V60, you want, there are basically three main things that impact your extraction. How flat the bed is, which means how flat the coffee bed that we make is, all the water flows through it. How agitated the coffee is, so whether you're stirring or swirling and how much you're doing that. And obviously your grind level. So we've ground a little bit finer here, which means there's more coffee in contact with the water, which means there's going to be higher extraction. I want good sweetness in the cup with relatively low acidity, but still a relatively balanced cup. That's my kind of goal. The way I get that is by basically doing, depending on, it doesn't really matter the ratio, but basically by doing a 3-step method. I'll go over that. Now, so kettle is just boiled. We're going to use a very small amount of water. I'm going to do this set down. A lot of people will stand up, but I'm going to do this. Set down a very small amount of water on the V60. That'll drain through. You want to rinse your papers beforehand, otherwise some of the taste of the paper will go into your coffee. Very good. Now, pour this into the cup I have here. I actually want to, before I continue, just rinse this cup out with a little bit of water. This will also keep the coffee, this will also preheat the cup a little bit. It would do if I had enough water, mind. Those are some bits of coffee left over from in here. Right, now we're going to press tab. We're going to add our coffee, make sure that there is the correct amount. Yeah, 15.5 it says. So what we're going to do is we're going to flatten the bed out, number one, by flattening out the bed like this. It's going to be better for when the coffee first hits it. It will extract better. Next is we're going to get we're going to make kind of a cone in the bed. A crater, an inverted cone, I suppose. So we flatten out the bed and then we made a crater into it. Now, press 10. So there's 15 grams in, we're looking at about 250 grams out. Now what I'm going to firstly bloom. The bloom phase takes up to about a minute. All we want to do here is we want to get our water. We're going to add our water up to about 60 grams. I don't really want to go above 60 grams. We're going to give it a quick swirl, basically going to get all the coffee coated. This is to release the CO2 in the coffee. So, we'll add our water, about 60 grams, just above, and then we're going to give this a quick swirl, like this, very quick, but quite a heavy swirl. Now we're going to leave that for about a minute. Now you can see, if I bring you up, you will be able to see in the coffee bed bubbles. See those bubbles there? That's the CO2 in the coffee actually releasing. Now what's the swirl for? The swirl is for agitation purposes. Instead of stirring the coffee, what the swirl will do is it will agitate the coffee grounds and the water together. It will also level out the bed a bit. Now, once this minute is up, we're then going to add around 100 grams of water, or about, I don't know the percentage. But if you have 250, you do about 60, 100, 100-ish. So we're at a minute. We're now going to add up until about 100, 160 to 180 grams worth of water in a circular, relatively slow motion. Okay, now instead of swirling or anything, I'm actually going to leave this besides getting my spoon and just scraping it around the edges one way, scraping it around the edges another way, just to break off any coffee that's on the walls. Then once this reaches up, so once we reach the minute we added the water, then we're just going to wait until it reaches 2 minutes. Then we're going to add the rest of our water up until our desired amount. So we're at 2 minutes. We're going to add up to 250 now. Again, circular motion like this. There we are, 260. We're going to give this a swirl. Nice hefty swirl. I'm going to swirl pretty consistently. For about 10 to 15 seconds. And then we're going to stop. We're going to naturally draw down now. If you draw down, the drawdown should end in about 3 minutes. And what we should have is a nice cup of coffee. We instead of a cup that is balanced, but a cup that is also sweet with relatively low acidity. Now I'm not a master at V60s. There is technique to them. One thing that was quite crucial to this was making sure that we got that water on the coffee relatively quick. Now I could have reboiled, got the water to blistering hot and then adding it on. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Just having the water come just off the boil like we did. Once it was boiled, wet the paper, put it down, add the coffee, then add the water. The about 15-20 second process. The water's not cooling down that much. The drawdown, as I said, with a method like this, because obviously the stages take about a minute in between. We didn't. Our water wasn't really fully in there till about 2 minutes 40, 2 minutes 45, and the drawdown was slowed down by such an aggressive, agitated swirl. But it's almost finished. About a 4-minute time from bloom to finish, which is about right. Now we want to see a bed that's not super muddy. We want to see, but obviously a dry bed. Now we did grind and set a bit finer because this was a light roast. The drawdown is about finished. If I press stop, we'll say it's finished there. 4 minutes 16, which I think is a perfectly fine drawdown time. Now here's the thing, this is why I don't like doing this whole thing in the morning or for my first cup of coffee. It's a lot to remember, it's a lot to think about. It's a lot to make sure you get right to get a good cup of coffee. This is coffee and water in and you wait. And then you get a really nice cup of coffee at the end of it. This is a bit more difficult. Now I'll show you the bed. I don't know much about bed analysis, but you can see it's very flat, which is good. That's a very flat bed. It is a bit muddy. I don't know if it's supposed to look like that or if it's supposed to look more coarse. I think that looks fine. We have pretty much a perfect cup as well. So let's get the coffee out, put it in the bin next to me. This will probably need rinsing out. I'll put it over here for now. I'll give that a rinse in a minute. Turn this off. Oh, smells good. Doesn't smell like a bad cup. So I had to let the coffee cool a bit, otherwise it's just going to break my tongue. I'm not going to get good flavour. Let's have a look, shall we? It's good. That is what I wanted. A sweet cup. It is sweet. There's a really nice natural sweetness there. There's a little bit of acidity, but not a lot. Kind of a very minor berry type acidity. And there's some nice chocolatey flavours. A very nice light bitterness. But there is nothing in this cup that is bad. Nothing in this cup that is that tastes off or wrong. Just a sweet cup and a balanced cup. Clarity wise, it could be better. That's not the filter's fault. That's not my grind size fault. That's the grinder itself. I think the issue that you get with clarity comes from the burst sets you're using. If your grinder has a relatively cheap burst set, what you're gonna find is, a relative, like you won't be cutting the coffee as evenly. And if it's not cut as evenly, then your distribution across your extraction means that flavours get muddied. They kind of don't taste exactly as they should. You can get speculative flavours, but if you wanted a very complex cup, like the actual thing I have here says that I should be getting hints of strawberry and peach. Now I've brewed this pretty well. There's no off flavours. can very, very lightly detect your fruitiness, even like a specific peachiness. Yeah, definitely can detect very, very, very lightly strawberry and peach. But for me to do that, I've got to sit there and do what you just seen, which isn't very pleasant if I was drinking in public. One, go every time. But I would say it's a nice cup and a good technique. So hope it'll make me better.